Okay, I'm Gary Stevenson. Bluegrass, well, many years ago I heard Doc Watson. I was about 15. A little bit of Flat and Scruggs, but was more folky and Gordon Lightfoot, some rock and roll, bit of blues. And it was the late 80s, actually, before I started really listening to a lot of bluegrass and getting into it. Who was most influential in getting me into bluegrass? Well, probably Gordy Sadler. I happened to meet him at a party. Actually, I met him and Carol Oldenburg, who was original members of our band, at a party in about '88. Of course, he was playing his banjo. I had my guitar there, and we just kind of kicked it off, and we've been playing ever since. Are there reasons why I picked up my instrument? Well, yes, because I played accordion until I was 15, and it was no longer cool at all. But my dad had a guitar that he left out on a stand, and so I put the accordion away one day, never picked it up again, and picked up his guitar, and I've been playing ever since. Mandolin, maybe mid-90s I started. I think around 2002, might have been about the same time as I got this guitar. I got a very nice Haydn mandolin, and I've been playing on that ever since, but not so seriously as the guitar. The Tony Rice unit, just awesome musicianship and playing. Favorite bands other than that? Well, I really like Flat and Scruggs. Still love the old stuff. Don't know if I can think of a modern band offhand that I would say, wow. Del McCoury. Oh, yes. The Del McCoury band. Lots of drive there. Well, for close to 2 decades, every Monday I was here. And in the last 10 years or so, I eased off, and I come in 3 or 4 times a year. I come to play, catch up with other folks. It's pretty social as well as playing. Search around for the hot pickers and try and do some jamming with them, and just push myself a bit. Tacky, good to hear from you, buddy. And bluegrass pickers around the world, I would say just stay with it. There's a huge range of what's called bluegrass, and there's something there for everybody. This is a tune called Gold Rush from Bill Monroe or Byron Berline.
My name is John Oswald. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia. I started playing bluegrass actually in 2000. I was in Japan, and a coworker said, I play bluegrass banjo, and I'm looking for someone to jam with, if there's any guitar players or mandolin players out there. And I said, I have a guitar. I brought it here so I could learn in Japan. And he said, that's probably as good as we can get, so let's do this together. So my first guitar teacher was a bluegrass banjo player in Japan. Yes.
Japanese person?
No, it was an American actually, and it was interesting because he's like, I want to play bluegrass, and I'd heard of bluegrass, and I was like, it didn't occur to me that it was still a vibrant, growing musical scene. I just thought it was this historical anachronism, and there was this American who was lonely in Japan and wanted to play this historical music. So I was like, I can do that. So that's how I got into it. So the person who was most influential in my introduction to bluegrass was named Ryan Schaefer, and he was a banjo player from Portland, Maine, and we were working together in Japan, and he introduced me to bluegrass music. He was a big Earl Scruggs fan, of course, as a banjo player. And so the first tune I learned was Foggy Mountain Breakdown. The reason why I picked up the banjo is I'm a bass player, but recently there's been a lot of bass players in our club, and so you show up to a jam and there'll be 3 or 4 bass players here, so you need a lightweight instrument to bring with you to play when you don't have a chance to play the bass. So that's how I got into playing the banjo. And I always liked the sound. Ryan played a really great bluegrass banjo, and I always was captivated by that sound. So I figured if I had to play an instrument that wasn't the bass, I'd like to play the banjo. I guess we say there's just too many bassists. You can have a couple guitars at a jam, you can have a couple banjos at a jam, you can have a couple mandolins, but the bass player really is the foundation underneath all of those melody players. And so if you have 2 different bass players, you might have 2 different feels, and that might be too much for a jam to handle. So that's why you just want to try to have 1 bass player. When I first got back to Vancouver, I would come to the slow pitch jam at our club here, the Pacific Bluegrass Old Time Society, once a month to the slow jam. The club executive added a opportunity to jam as a group at farmers markets to entertain the people at the markets, and that was the motivation for me to practice more and play out more. So that was a great innovation at our club, and that got me coming out almost weekly now, so 3 or 4 times a month now. I come to jamming here to improve as a musician and to get out and meet people. I talk a lot in my job. I'm a teacher, a high school teacher, but I don't get out and meet people that often. So it's a great social experience for me to come out and talk to people and play music with people. So it's been really great for me to meet people in the city. Jam more. I've improved as a musician. I would practice at my home by myself a lot, but you can't actually get better. You can't get above a certain level unless you go out and interact with other people and both listen to them and sing along with them and play along with them. So that would be my message: is jam more. So this banjo was made by Kevin Enoch, and it's number 979. And it's a great instrument. They sell for about $1,200 US at this point, and I've really enjoyed playing it.
My name is Julianne Brown. I've been playing bluegrass about 10 years. Who was most influential in getting me into bluegrass? So I'd actually started taking guitar lessons in Calgary with a fellow named Steve Fisher. And Steve Fisher had said, well, I want to show you different styles of guitar playing. I want to show you fingerstyle, and I want to show you bluegrass. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to learn this bluegrass thing. But he got me started on the path, and then once I moved back to Vancouver, my home in British Columbia, I found the Bluegrass Club, and then I just loved it to bits. And so in that roundabout way, it was Steve that got me into bluegrass, and then the club that really just took me off with the style of music, and it's what I've been playing since. So guitar in particular, I found was kind of the most accessible way into music. Again, I was initially wanting to learn kind of a finger style and play like certain artists. And then once I found the acoustic guitar and found that avenue into bluegrass, then it was just an instrument that's always welcome. Everyone loves to have a guitar player. But with that said, there are many guitar players, and I'm now learning mandolin as a fun as a fun addition. And then that's just the fun of this music, is that you can start out on one thing and then you can go down completely different paths, and the learning is all just so much fun. Goodness. Who are my favorite bands and artists? This question I knew was coming, and I knew it would be hard to nail down, and it's almost ever changing. So in the most traditional bluegrass, I really gravitate towards the Stanley Brothers as kind of founders and traditional musicians that I listen to most, but then by extension, all these wonderful bands have done covers. So I absolutely love the Horse Necks. They're a duo out of, I believe, Portland, Oregon, but the fellow is from England. And then I love Foghorn String Band and Caleb Plotter, and songs that he's written. So in their in these more modern bands, there's a ton of the old tunes that they've covered and done their own versions of. So I'll pin those as some of my tops, but the list is just huge. How often do I attend jamming? I typically come to the Bluegrass Club about weekly, or once every couple of weeks, but through the Bluegrass Club, I've also met new jamming friends and have even joined into a band, which has been a ton of fun. So there's playing multiple times a week now, which is really great. What I love most about jamming is just people getting together, and sometimes you're coming with a song that you've learned, or maybe you've learned a new solo that you want to try, and sometimes you're not coming with that, but it's just so much fun to hear what other people are coming with, and you'll hear a song done a certain way, and then it's just so much fun to learn all this different music. So just absolutely love the togetherness of the club and the social aspect, and then it's so nicely rooted in the traditions that that it's just, yeah, a pleasure to come to and to hear all of the different directions that it goes. Oh, what would my message for bluegrass lovers around the world? I think start, if there's any instrument that draws you, start playing that. If there's any song that draws you, play that. And then if you're an accomplished player, absolutely welcome in the newcomers and teach them how the bluegrass circle works. And if you're new, then listen to the more advanced players, and then just get into it, because it's just so much fun, and it can really just carry you through a lifetime, as we've seen through people with the club. There's so many that have been here for so long, and it's, yeah, just such a wonderful experience to be a part of. So this is Hard Times by Caleb Plotter and done by the Foghorn String Band. We should have waited a little bit longer, for our love's growing stronger. That night I broke your heart. Tried to leave you past behind, keep a satisfied mind. Cannot make a brand new start. Hard times, trouble on my mind. Maybe you know how I feel. Low down, hearts filled on the ground. These hard times love me still. Yes, these hard times love me still.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Freeman. How long have I been playing bluegrass? About 14 years now, I think. Quite a few people. Sue and her slow pitch class got me quite involved in it. And the people in the club, many people kind of showed me little things as I went along, and then I got further involved as I went along. I'd heard mandolin and rock music and blues music, and then I bought a Bill Monroe CD, and I wanted to know what that sound was, and it was pretty surprising to me, and it hooked me from that moment on. Do I play any other instruments? A little bit of fiddle, guitar. I used to play trombone, piano, bass. Who are my favorite artists? I'd say I like Cody Norris show. Paul Ramblin' Boys are favorites. Some of the bands that aren't around anymore, Johnson Mountain Boys, Jimmy Martin, Bill Monroe, Stanley Brothers, Flat and Scruggs, the classics. How often do I attend jamming? These days, not as often. With being in a band, it makes it a little harder to get out, and full-time job and married now. It's not as easy. I try to get out at least once a month, but I used to do it every week. Why do I come to a jam? I just like the community. I enjoy the music. It's a fun place to get together, and meet other people who also enjoy bluegrass as much as I do. A message to bluegrass lovers around the world. I'd say it's a great community. I love the fact that everybody around the world seems to be in the same community, and it's nice to see people in Japan, Germany, Italy, the States, Canada, all playing the same music and loving the same thing and being part of a global community together.
I'm Jay Buckwold, banjo player. I think it was 1958. I was 15 years old. When I came downstairs at home, my parents had just had a party, and there was a tenor banjo sitting in a chair amongst all the half-finished drinks and everything. It was a friend of my parents who had left it there. Maybe he got a ride home and forgot his banjo. And we talked him into leaving it there for a while. I taught myself a few chords. And eventually, I guess it was first year university, somebody needed a 5-string banjo player. I had purchased a tenor. I sold it and got a 5-string. And started learning. I think it was probably the Pete Seeger book that was my inspiration. That was the start. It was a trio in university, and it was part of the folk scare. Yeah, we were new Christie minstrels. Of course, Pete Seeger. The book that he wrote, How to Play the 5-String Banjo, that was my Bible for a long time. Well, beside Pete Seeger, maybe Pete Wernick. I started attending camps that he ran in the summertime, Cannon Beach. I loved the band Highrise. Why did I pick up the banjo? Well, like I said, it was just sitting there. A number of my friends were playing guitar, and the banjo seemed like something a little bit different, something where I could not necessarily be the main singer, the main star, and I could somehow complement what was going on, and that was very appealing to me. Well, it's certainly Highrise at that point, favorite bands. Almost anything with a hot banjo player, Tony Trishka, J.D. Crowe. I fell in love with the music that Alison Brown was playing. Some of the local bands, Toronto bands, Chris Quinn, loved to copy all that stuff. I met almost every banjo player I came across. I think I wanted to play like them. You're asking how often I play. Roughly once a week if you add band practices and informal jams, and certainly the band scramble whenever I can. Few performances in the band, that kind of thing. I like being able to make the music a little bit better, to try the things that I've been working on. It keeps my old hands moving. Sometimes it hurts the old hands, but I communicating through music has become important to me, and that's what I like to do. Make the effort to play together. Bring your music to different cultures. We had a great time at Wintergrass, meeting a family of Japanese pickers. Chico Mitsuya and the family band became good friends, and we try. My wife and I try and see them at Wintergrass every year. The music should be international. The IBMA is, I think, an important way for bluegrass music to spread around the world. Love the form. Love the communication. Here's a little tune that I wrote after an unfortunate experience, getting a big black eye, and the tune is called Big Black Eye. It goes something like this.
Hello, I am Victoria Walsh, also known as Vicki. I've been playing bluegrass probably about 8 to 10 years. I did classical piano before that, acquired a lap steel and kept looking at it and went, I should get someone to show me how to play that, and then got sucked into this bluegrass community of people. The most influential person getting me involved in bluegrass was a lady named Liz Bader. Well, and my dobro teacher, Tim Tweedale, but he convinced me to come to a few repertoire building classes, and Liz was in the class, and she convinced me to come to some jams. It's all her fault. I picked up a dobro because I had acquired this lap steel from a co-op student at my engineering office, and I just looked at it and went, oh, that's really cool. Maybe I'll get someone to teach me how to play it. And then from lap steel, I evolved into dobro because all the people I hung out with had acoustic instruments. My favorite bands, well, my favorite local bands are probably, they were the Honky Tonk Dilettantes, and now they're the Lonesome Town Painters. Currently, I've been listening to a lot of Biscuit Burners, yes. It's a dobro band, so yeah. I try to come to jams about once a week. There are some other jams around the Lower Mainland that I sometimes try and jump into and visit as well. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less. Just depends on my week and the weather. What do I come to jamming for? Well, the people mostly. I mean, they've been so awesome, and it's so straightforward and so accommodating. That's why I've hung around. That's why I've continued to play it. And it's really fun music to play. What would be my message to bluegrass lovers around the world? Play and have fun, in time and in tune. This is Head Over Heels by Lester Flatt. I think I'll go across the ocean if I don't lose the notion. I've just got to forget you if I can. I'm feeling so blue, I don't know what to do, 'cause I'm head over heels in love Oh, I'd like to be forgiven, but this life that ain't worth living if I've gotta sit and worry over you. I'm feeling so blue, I don't know what to do, 'cause I'm head over heels in love with you. Because I'm head over heels in love with you. Thank you.
I'm Gerard Lynch. How long have I been playing bluegrass? So a while ago I was trying to calculate it and I had trouble figuring it out, but it hasn't been that long. Maybe since 2016 or so, I think. Yeah, I think I bought a mandolin in 2015, and then it was all downhill from there. So, who was most influential in getting me involved in bluegrass? I don't know that there was a person really. I didn't know anybody who played bluegrass. I don't think I could have defined what bluegrass was. Like I probably would have said that I liked it, but I didn't really know what it was. I think what actually happened, well, probably if anybody was influential. So I went to a party one time and my friend had a mandolin and he said, it's kind of like a guitar, only it's upside down. Here's a couple, he showed me the 2-finger chords. So then we just have this jam, I just played mandolin instead of guitar and I was like, that's fine. And then I saw one for sale in a music store a while later and then I bought it. And then I didn't play it for a couple of years, just hung on the wall. Then finally I was like, I should learn how to play that. And then I started taking to parties and I printed out all the 2-finger chords and put them on the back. And so I could and then I started playing mandolin. But then after like I did that for a couple of months. Then I was like, what is a mandolin even for? Like I didn't really know what kind of music. I started Googling that. I'm like, oh, bluegrass. So I guess I didn't know anybody. It was just this sort of organic thing that I had this instrument that I wanted to figure out how to play, and it just seemed like bluegrass was like how you played it. So yeah. I suppose the guy who lent me the mandolin was most influential in the long run. Yeah, I guess. So I guess the reason I picked up the mandolin was kind of the answer to the previous question. Just someone handed one to me, and so I was like, oh. I think actually why I kept playing it is because we used to go to these parties, like sort of kitchen parties. I had a bunch of friends from the East Coast, and they used to like throw parties and sing and play guitar and drink all night. And then no one else had a mandolin, so it was just different enough that it was kind of different. So I think that's. But I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea. So, really, I'm a big fan of Sierra Hall. And John Reisman is a big fan of him. Who else? See, I should have studied for this question more. That I remember the bands. I think it's interesting how there are more people who are local sometimes now than they would have been in the past. Now that I'm in this bluegrass community, and you can actually meet people that play, right? So like Ferris and Jason Romero, for instance, like I always go out of my way to make sure I can see them when they're in town. And I do listen to those bands quite a bit. Billy Strings, I'm a big fan of Billy Strings. So usually these days I think I listen to music that I'm trying to learn more than just to listen to it, though, it's different. I didn't used to do that. I used to, pretty much every week, most weeks, yeah. Why do I come to the jam? It's a good question. I think when I first came, I came because I was really amazed that there was this amount of music existed and that I could participate in it, even as like a really novice player. That was really intriguing and like fascinating that I could like kind of play along and manage to do it. And I think now it's more because of the community of the people that are here than it is for strictly just the jamming. Because now I play a lot of music in the rest of my life. When I first started playing, this was the only outlet for it that I really had. And now I have a lot more outlets, so I still love playing here, but it's less about that. It's like seeing people and kind of being part of the community, I think, is why I keep coming. Crafting a message to bluegrass lovers around the world is sounds like a very big responsibility. But I think the thing that I could say, and I might only apply to certain kinds of people, but is that you can participate in this kind of music, even if you think you're not good at music, or you think you haven't played in a long time, or you don't know how to play, or you. I wasn't very good at music, honestly. I played guitar a little bit, and I never had music lessons, and I never took music as a kid. But now, now I can play enough to enjoy myself with people, and like it's completely doable. And this community can help you do that, and I think that's a really powerful thing that isn't there in a lot of other kinds of music and in other communities. So.